How do you learn who you really are? It's not found in books. It's found on the battlefield. What's up, warriors? Welcome back to the Battlefield of Mind. So I'm here with Sally Gimon. Is that right?
That's correct.
That's correct. And Sally is going to help pull a lot of us out of some hells that we're fighting. Now, a lot of times we get into our psychology stuff. We talk about fear. We talk about doubt. We talk about insecurities. We talk about relationships. Time to get into the warrior part for our finances, the part that makes us provide, the part that gives us safety, security, and the part that makes us so that we can have more tools at our disposal. And Sally, you got a weapon that people need to know about.
Exactly.
Help us out. What is this new weapon that we need to put in our arsenal?
It's not new. It's actually the law firm I work for has a trust that's turning 350 years old in 2023. So it's been around for a long time, but it's only the super rich know about the Spence Rift Trust. And Rick, you having me on your program, I want regular people to know about this because we all should know about this. It's not taught in schools.
Thank you. Thank you for being the person who's going to help more people. Please tell me, what is this? Like, what do we do? What is it? How can we use it? I need to know more.
Excellent. This trust comes from England way back when King Henry VIII started the Church of England. He got in trouble for chopping off his wives' heads. He went to go tax
as one should.
Yes. So his solution to that was to start the Church of England so he could divorce his wives. Well, I don't think he was that great of a guy. He went to go tax the lords and ladies of England. They went even further back into history to the Magna Carta. So this is contract law from England, came over while we were still the colonies. And most people don't know this, Rick, but the U.S. tax code only went into effect in 1913. It was only supposed to be for 6 years. It's more than 100 years later. It's 10 times the size of all Shakespeare's works. And there's so many tax loopholes people don't know about. And this is one that the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Kennedys, U.S. presidents, they know it. But regular people like you and I, we don't know it.
I'm intrigued. Please keep going.
Exactly. That's why I appreciate you having me on your show. I really do appreciate that. Do you work as a 1099 income earner?
I am. We're an S corp, and so yeah, I guess it would be 1099, right?
Okay. There's 4 trusts. The first one is a business trust. It's going to save you at least 70% per year on your taxes, year after year, generation after generation. Just to give you an idea, I'm using my cheat sheet here. A real estate agent here in North Carolina, her 2022 taxes were she made $70,000. She's divorced, so she's filing single. She right now has 4 houses on the market in the Charlotte area, so she thinks she's going to make a lot of money. We are going to save her, if at 2022 taxes, we would save her $7,496. That's a lot of money for her.
That is a lot of money.
Exactly.
So what does she have to do, or what do we do? Like, let's say I'm 1099. I have my own business.
Correct.
I've made more than 70,000 this year, and I would like to know, help me out. What do I do, or what do I need to know?
Perfect question. There is an application. It's 5 pages. You're going to decide what the name of your trust is. No, the last word would be Spence Rift Trust. Unfortunately, your LLC, S corps, and C corps, that's statutory law. So it's different for each state. And then Louisiana has Napoleonic law. This is on the federal level. You will get your EIN number, your EIN, employee identification number. Then you will also get a letter to open up your bank account. You would change how you do. Are you in a joint partnership, or are you in agreement with somebody with your business? It's just you?
Just me.
You're going to do a very simple bill of sale. You're going to say, on August 18th, I'm taking my XYZ S Corp. I'm transferring it to your own name, Rick. You're going to go get it notarized, and you're going to hand the person at the bank $10. The second bill of sale is going to say, Rick is going to change my S Corp to the trust on August 18th for $10. So the $10 comes back, so there's consideration. Then you're going to set it up into the new bank account, and all your 1099 income is going to go through the trust. I can legally say you will save at least 70% on your federal taxes, Many of my customers are saving 90 to 92%. And then, depending on where you live, one of my customers up in the state of New York, he's saving 10.3% New York state tax. Another customer who's in Chicago is saving 4.95% Illinois tax because you're only filing your state, you're only filing your federal taxes. It's a 1041 tax return, so it gets better special consideration because 97% of all tax returns are 1040. And a lot of CPAs have never heard of this. I unfortunately, I try to give them a book. It's called Scott and Asher on Trust, 5th edition. This is what trust attorneys study in law school. Most CPAs only work in the 300, 400 level because that's where the bread and butter is, unfortunately.
Sure. All right. So I changed my business over, right? So here I go. I'm going to go and I'm going to do a bill of sale to myself, notarize this, take my S Corp and turn it into a trust, which is a 1041 tax return. And then all my income goes through this trust. I don't know as much about the trust to know even what it is. So how about this? Explain what the trust is to somebody who's like, I've only ever had a regular bank account, or I've only ever had a W-2 or 1099. I don't know what the trust even means. Explain trusts to the layman. So what's a trust? What is that?
Exactly. Unfortunately, the trust will not work for W-2 income. Right. With the beneficial trust, I have 6 nurses and 5 teachers. They're W-2 income, but they're real estate investors and they're saving the money on real estate. A trust is a special document that is written to have its own entity. The majority of trusts, 97% of the trusts in the United States, are what's called a family trust. My mom and dad had this. This is what Susie Orman talks on TV. It's only good to avoid going through probate. And then when the grantor, whoever decided to make the trust, when they pass away, that trust dissolves. The Spence Rift Trust, the full name is going to be irrevocable, complex, discretionary, non-grantor Spence Rift Trust. So just to give you an idea, the Rockefellers Trust is 7 generations old, has almost 400 people under the same EIN, employee identification number. They all have their own special bank account. They're not commingling money. Irrevocable complex means this trust can hold money day to day, week to week, year to year, decade to decade. You're going to avoid going through probate. You're going to avoid inheritance tax and just transfer things from one generation to the next generation. Irrevocable complex discretionary. Whoever is a trustee can make the rules for the beneficiaries. I'm the trustee for my family right now. I've got nothing special that I do that, special rules. What makes this trust so special is the non-grantor clause. When you start the trust, you're going to find somebody who's not a beneficiary sign up for the trust and then sign away from the trust, and you'll need their social security number. Rick, if you can't find somebody, either myself or somebody else at the law firm will do this for you free of charge. It makes the trust completely private. Unfortunately, you have an S Corp. Anyone can write a Freedom of Information Act to either the Secretary of State or the Corporation Commission to say, tell me about this S Corp, and I will get all your information on that. There's nothing private. It doesn't save you taxes. And then the spendthrift part has been in front of the U.S. Supreme Court 2 different occasions. Both times, the U.S. Supreme Court has favored with the Spendthrift Trust. I have 2 pages of case law to give to people. You want to go down that avenue. It's as legal can be. Back in 1913, when they were writing the tax code, the very rich families, the Firestones, the Kennedys, the Rockefellers, people like this, purposely put this into 643B of the tax code. Only way it can be changed is if Congress decides they're going to change the tax code. If they decide, my mom's from Ireland, so I'm going to use March 17th, 2025, because she's Irish. So if they change this March 17th, 2025, I can't sell any more trusts after that date. Anyone who has a trust before that date, it's a contract, they can't break the contract. So that trust that's turning 350 years old this year can keep going year after year after year after year. Only way it's going to change is if there's no longer a United States, and I don't know if I want to be living in whatever's going to come after the United States, so that's kind of odd.
Yeah, we can't really plan for that.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, okay. So that's pretty awesome. And it seems really good for like longevity for like inheritance. It seems good for longevity for family. And it seems good for just stability and safety, security, all of these things. It seems set up to really like set people up for the long haul, but also make it so right now you're not getting tax gouged from taxes that technically just indulge my ignorance here. Taxes technically were supposed to be only during time of war, and then it just became a time of what we damn do. And isn't like the taxes itself, isn't that technically illegal against our own like constitution or something? There's somebody saying like, this is immoral. This is only supposed to be in time of war. Do we just have to keep making wars so we keep getting taxed?
Correct. The U.S. knew it was getting into World War I when they started this. Unfortunately, people don't talk about taxes and death. So this is something that's not talked about. One of the things with the beneficial trust, here's something, if you decide to sell your corporation or sell a business, people don't realize you're going to pay either 15% or 20% in the profits to the federal government due sometimes not more than 12 months away, because if you sell your business in February of 2023, you're not going to pay those taxes until April 15th, 2024. So Just to give you a quick example, this came from a business broker, a gentleman selling an HVAC company. He started the business in his kitchen table. His wife was doing all the coordination. He sold it for $1.7 million. I'm not a CPA. At 15%, he's going to save $255,000. At 20%, he's going to save $340,000. That changes the retirement. 6 figures? I mean,
yeah.
As his business broker introduced us, the business broker's like, I knew he had to pay taxes, but that much money? That's a lot of money to come up with.
It's a lot of money, especially since they built it from the ground up. And we have no say on these taxes. We have no say on what happens with any of this. And so that guy's giving more than some people will make in 10 years. To what? We
exactly.
Don't know.
And I don't want to be a doomsayer, but the federal government and state governments, because of COVID, are really behind in taxes. I mean, I don't know if you have a pension, but a lot of the pensions are not being funded well. So their solution is to tax people. Right now, November of 2021, 2 huge bills went through Congress. One of the bills said for short-term capital gains, people making more than $300,000 a year will pay 60% in capital gains. So you sell a house for $10,000, you wholesale a house for $10,000, you're going to pay $60,000 to the federal government and keep $40,000 for yourself. That's not fair. I mean,
no.
I love the United States. I'm not anti-government. My father was military, things like that.
That stuff isn't what we were built on, though. Like we fought for freedom against this type of stuff. And so now that we know what right and wrong is at the core of us, and to say I have to give 60% of all that I've earned to somebody, well, that's not even fair if we're splitting lunch.
Well, the first page of the IRS tax code, you can Google this, says it's up to each individual to figure out how to save taxes legally.
Really?
Again, in my national real estate group, I was in the Phoenix office. In my national real estate group, one of the instructors, Garrett Gunderson, wrote a book called What the Rockefellers Do. The new title of the book is What Billionaires Do, but it talks about the Rockefellers. They call it The Office. My background is competitive intelligence and insurance. And when I bought, back in July 2020, I bought a bank-owned reverse mortgage house for $20,000. It was going to go to auction for $50,000. Easy peasy. Don't have to lift up the hammer or anything else. Middle of COVID, I had to wait 13 months.
Oh, no.
I knew at that time I was at 24%. There's 7 different tax brackets from 10% to 37%. I knew I would have to pay $7,110 on that $30,000. I had 13 months to figure this out. I found the private law firm. I became a client. I started my trust. And then I started teaching in my mastermind in my real estate group in Phoenix. When it finally went to auction, August 28th, 2021. I bought July 20th, 13 months later. It started at 50,000. It went up to 64,000. Yay, Sally. I made 64,000. I made $44,000. Fantastic. But more importantly, I saved $10,550 on that one real estate transaction. That's a lot of money to me. I mean, that changed things for me.
That's a lot. That's a huge number to be able to save on that. Congrats, by the way. That's a big deal. That's awesome.
Exactly.
I'm listening. I'm with. I'm taking notes. I got over half a page already. I'm taking notes. I want to. Please keep going.
Exactly, because people have not heard about this. I true story. Back in June, I'm here in the Charlotte area. Back in June, it was a multifamily convention. I bought a ticket. I went to lunch with 5 other people. Had a great lunch. Talking. One of the gentlemen there has it's passive investing. He does. He took my business card. We set up a Zoom 2 weeks later. He literally got on the Zoom. He goes, "My CPA says you're lying. I'm not talking to you." And I'm like, No. I've got a book for your CPA to read. He's like, "Nope, we're done." All his investors, passive investors who are going to be taxed between 10% to 37% on any profit they make, aren't going to know about the trust because he didn't want to listen, or his CPA told him the wrong information. That's just so wrong.
That's just choices. It's okay. People will make their decisions. They have to. And this is the hardest part about our jobs, is when we give them the best way to do something and people still have to do it their own way. That's every coach that there is on this planet. We're like, well, this is what works and this is the best thing to do, but you're also welcome to do whatever you want to.
Exactly.
It's the hardest part of this job, when you're like, you do know when you touch the stove, it's going to burn like hell, right? They're like, you don't know. My CPA says you're You're like,
stay with us. We'll be right back.
Warrior, thank you so much for being a part of the information that we have. And you're part of our story as we are a part of yours. It's very much an honor to be able to connect with each other. If you want to know more, or you want to get started with working with me or working with our warriors so that you can begin your path to authenticity, strength, leadership, and accountability, this is the way. Together, we are way stronger. Now you get to choose. Do you go forward or keep doing what you've always done? If you stay where you're at, hey, click on some of the stuff and follow what it is. We got motivational stuff. We've got podcasts. We've got more things. Just subscribe and do the stuff, and we'll keep you updated. But if you want to start going in, start jumping into what our programs offer and start your journey and being the hero in your own story.
Told you.
People think this is crazy. So here in Charlotte area, a lot of people coming down from New York. So there's this fantastic New York style pizza place with white pizza. I'm talking to a friend of mine, and the owner's like, "Can I talk to you? I want to hear what you're saying." He's now a customer. First year, he's not saving that much, only about $600 because he has to pay for the trust. Second year, he's going to save $21,150.50. In 2025, with the savings from the federal taxes, he's going to open up a third location. And in 2026, he'll open up a fourth location. He's 55 years old. He plans to retire in about 6 years, leave 2 pizzerias to one son, and leave the other 2 pizzerias to another son. And he's just like, we won't pay inheritance tax because there's going to be so much money involved with that. And he's just awesome. Like $25,000 a year in savings. That can change. That changes people's lives only for the better.
Some people only make $25,000 a year.
Exactly.
So that's a big deal. How much, you said I had to pay for the trust. How much do you have to pay for the trust?
The trust, unfortunately, is going to be $20,000 to do it, but you will save it so much money doing that.
Okay. So is this like a $20K buy-in? That's why people have to have a certain amount of money that they've made?
Correct. So when you start the trust, like what my guy selling the HVAC company, he started the trust July 8th. He filled out the paperwork. He got it back. His business broker knew about it. They set up a new bank account. When the person paid for the HVAC company, they paid the new bank account. When I got paid, it was a weird date because of everything happening. The business broker made $600. He then told the gentleman who bought the HVAC company, because there's 15 trucks involved, hey, you want to save the 1099 income? So the business broker made $1,200 extra on a deal that he put together. And he's just like, this is perfect. I didn't do anything. I just had to have them talk to Sally.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I changed my business over, and then I worked with your law firm. Now, is the law firm is $20K for the law firm, or just the trust itself is $20K? I just want to make sure, like, all right, so this is probably how you said, like, what do the billionaires do? This is their, like, this is how to make sure regular people aren't doing it. Is this fair or not fair?
Exactly. Just trying to even the playing field, because so many small business people could save thousands of dollars, and people don't know this information to learn about it. So with you giving me some time on your podcast, I just have to say thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I want to make sure that it's valuable for people, because I don't want to give them half information and have more CPAs say you're lying. So I want to make sure we give at least the justice of, like, you being able to say, like, no, I really did say the way that it works without being misconstrued or somebody misunderstanding. And so, like, all right, so let's say I'm good. I've got 20K, no problem. I'm going to switch my S Corp over. Let's do that. I do all of the pieces to this. And then do I have to work through you, or do I just file this myself? Like, I don't know what's my next step.
We have a team that works with you. You're going to put your vehicles into the trust. You'll have to go to the DMV, change it over from your personal name to the trust name. You're going to put everything in the trust except for your personal home. You're not going to change the deed on your house until you decide you're going to sell it. So let's say in 10 years, you're going to sell it. The trust is going to pay the mortgage. The trust is going to pay the electricity. The trust is going to pay the gas bill, the garbage bill, the insurance for the house. The trust is going to pay for the insurance on your car, maintenance on your car, the registration on your car, the gas for your car. The trust is going to pay, I don't know if you have employees, but they'll pay for the employees. The trust will pay, you'll take over, since you do work with an S Corp, it's going to be almost the exact same thing as using an S Corp as with the trust. When you have the beneficial trust, just so you know, the three things it does not cover is personal food, fun, and fashion. So my car, nothing fancy, a 2015 car, but when I bought it back in 2015, it was worth $27,500. So with the beneficial trust, I can do what's called a demand letter up to $27,500, tax-free for any food, fun, or fashion. I do a lot of wholesaling. So whatever I purchase the house for, not what I sell it for, but what I purchase the house for, that's what I can do the demand letter up to. Just to give you an idea, with one of my clients, 3 years in a row, he went to his accountant saying, I'm paying too much in interest income. He does what's called the BRRRR strategy, buy, rehab, redo, resell. He's like paper on the house. His accountant, 3 years in a row, has told him, stop buying so many houses. Who tells you that? You want to be an investor. His friend told him about the trust. In 2022, he had 85 BRRRR strategy houses in the Dallas area. We saved him and his family $135,000 2022. He now has 97 BRRRR houses, and it's kind of interesting. His wife, I don't know if you remember this, but back in the 70s, there were from Vietnam, the boat people who came over. She was a little child on that. They started a nonprofit foundation to help people who come to the United States with just the clothes on their back. I mean, people are doing amazing things here. One of my clients is in upstate New York. He's an affiliate marketer. We're saving them we're saving them taxes plus 10.3%. And there was a shooting at the grocery store in Buffalo, New York. They've started a foundation because so many of the people, not making fun of the people, but a lot of them had children and grandchildren who lost, a grandparent. They started a foundation to help those the grandchildren be able to go to college. I mean, the people who are saving money are doing even better, great works, helping other people because they're thankful. I mean, the affiliate marketer started he lost his job. He was in a paper mill, lost his job, and he just started selling weight loss supplements, and now is a multimillionaire doing that.
Interesting. These are fascinating stories. So help me out. Again, I'm going to come into it as a Socratic method, as I know nothing. So like, all right, is a trust like a bank account, or is this like a loan? Like, what is the trust itself? Like, how does that work? Do I have to do deposits and then it works like a bank? Like, is the trust literally like, that's like my new bank? Like, what is that?
Good question. When you open up your bank account, you're going to get a debit card for it. You can build business credit with the trust. You know, it does take a little bit of time. I bought $50 worth of light bulbs for 3 months from Granger. I eBayed them. I now have a credit card in the trust name at 0%. I'm building my business credit slowly. Now, with your situation being an S Corp, I don't know if you have business credit already set up. It's going to be your decision when you're going to shut down your LLCs, S Corps, and C Corps. I personally shut down 6 LLCs. I've got 12 notes. I had 2 notes in each LLC. Bad Sally, should have had 12 LLCs. But I shut down 6 LLCs. So that does away with that K1 filing that you have to do by March 15th. Mm-hmm. I was being charged $600 per K1. So that saved me money there. Everything I do within the trust, you can use Quicken Books. I just use an Excel spreadsheet. And I give that to the accountant, and my taxes were cheaper in 2022 than they were in 2021. I love that. Sure. Cheaper taxes and saving more money. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So like, all right, this sounds good. It works better across the board, right? And this is what the rich do. But again, like this is where I have to try and look at the human aspect of things. Dropping 20K up front is tough for most people. You know, like, so like, is this like, this is a guaranteed prereq. This is the buy-in that's needed for this. And this would probably be a deterrent for most people to make it so they would feel like this seems scam worthy, even though maybe it's supposed to look like that. So people don't do it because it's legit and they want people to not do it. Like, tell me some of what that looks like so that people can understand.
Exactly. I do a Monday night, every Monday night, 8 p.m. East Coast time. I do a live Q&A. I had a gentleman come on. His mom and dad are in their 70s. They have 5 apartment buildings up in the Bronx. He's trying to get information that he's the oldest of 3 kids. None of them want to be real estate investors. So mom and dad are planning to sell the 5 apartment buildings. Takes the information, sends me an email about a week later, and he goes, my CPA says this is not true. And I sent an email back saying, hey, look at the Scott and Asher on Trust 5th edition. You know, you might be able to get it at Amazon. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. His CPA 2 weeks later gets on my Monday night Zoom. He goes, we need to talk. I have over 100 real estate investors all in the 5 boroughs of New York. He goes, I've never heard of this. I want to learn how I can start helping them do the tax returns. He goes, give me the case law just so I can look this up. And I'm like, I've got a lot of technical stuff to give to people. Most people don't want it, but he has now sent me over 100 clients in the last 7 weeks. They're all saving money. Another person who I talked to, do you know who Bill Walsh is? Have you ever heard of Rainmakers?
No, sorry.
I'm part of his Rainmakers group. I went to Chicago last June. Somebody I met there, I'm going to only use first names, Don, inherited his father's stock portfolio. Kind of a neat portfolio, 100 shares of the top 100 dividend-paying companies. He's like, he was taking a fantastic vacation every quarter. He was making about $60,000 per quarter, going fantastic places. Mm-hmm. He and I started talking. We had to get his financial advisor involved. Jules got on the Zoom, and he had to get a medallion to change it over. There was a little bit of paperwork for him to do. Jules changed all the stock certificates into the trust name. We started it second quarter of 2022. He didn't pay for the trust until he got paid for his dividends in third quarter of 2022. Jules is like, I'm doing all the work. And I'm like, Jules, if you've got other clients, you can refer to me. You know, I can help them save taxes. She's referred clients to me. Her clients love that they're saving taxes. They're referring more clients to Jules. It's a win-win-win-win. Everyone's happy, if that makes sense.
Everyone's winning. I like it. So that's interesting you said that. You can switch things over and then be able to pay the 20K later after it's already running?
Correct. It's just a one-time fee. Unfortunately, It's got to be paid by either a certified check or by a wire. Unfortunately, because people have canceled credit cards. The team is going to help you. I'm going to be honest. There's 3 exhibits. The first exhibit's going to be if you got stocks, if you got crypto, or anything like that. Second exhibit is going to be your vehicle identification number, year, make, and model, and the mileage on the car. And then the third exhibit is going to be everything else, your furniture in your house, maybe your clothes, things like that. The team
so you're saying people can use their collateral as their payment? Is that a thing?
Exactly.
Really? That is amazing.
So like with, let's say you bought your house 10 years ago and it's gone up so much, the prices and everything. They're going to use the original amount that you paid for it. And then, you can take this trust. You do have to talk to the right banker, but you can get loans against what you have in that in the trust. The reason we don't say to put your house completely in it, if you want to get solar panels on the rooftop or get a HELOC, we want you to be able to do that. But so if you plan to sell it in 10 years, in April, you'll change the deed, to the trust name. When you sell your own personal house, if you're married, you can take off $500,000 of capital gains. If you're single, widowed, or divorced, it's $250,000. I have people here in the Charlotte area who bought houses back in the 70s that the houses are now worth, $400,000 more than what they paid for them. So, they're going to be pay more than that $500,000 in capital gains, unfortunately.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah. There's so many, it seems like this is set up to win no matter what, if you know what to do. Is that right? Correct.
And, it goes from generation to generation. Unfortunately, when my father passed away, I have 2 brothers. We were not on the title to the house. So when it did sell, we had to pay the long-term capital gains from the estate for that house. With the trust, we would have avoided that. I tried convincing my brothers put it in the trust, and they're like, we don't trust you, Sally. So yeah.
That's an ironic sentence. Put it in the trust, and we're like, we don't trust, so we don't have trust.
Exactly. Trying to explain to people how this can save them money. I purposely do examples and send it to people so they can see what's happening. One of my clients right now, he's up in New York. He has a co-op. He bought in 1964 for a very small amount. He's in his 70s. He's going to go live with his children outside of Philadelphia. When he goes to sell this co-op, he's going to pay so much more because it's worth $2.3 million. And he's like, I need the trust. His son asked to have a Zoom. We just had a Zoom earlier today, and he goes, "This is amazing." He goes, and I go, he can make you a beneficiary, you can make your wife a beneficiary, your children beneficiaries. It's just going to go from generation to generation. The son, to tell you the truth, he's an electrician. He's got 1099 income. He's looking at the business trust right now.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, so there's a lot to learn here, and it seems like it's important to understand the loopholes are made by the people who made the rules.
Exactly.
Fair? Like that's why that's what you're trying to do is like, hey guys, they made rules here deliberately to make it so that we don't have to follow certain rules. That's why they say, like, how come the rich aren't paying, like, if somebody made $1 billion, why aren't they paying, $400 million in taxes?
Correct.
They should be, right?
Just to give you an idea, the Rockefeller's office, they have 27 accountants working for them every single year. That's their job, is to figure out how to save as much money as possible. I don't know how you do your taxes, Rick. I mean, before I got the trust, I'm Googling, what were the tax things? Doing my own taxes. I'm not smart. I don't know how to do taxes well.
I hire somebody to do it, so that's what I do.
Exactly.
I have a great tax lady, but like I don't know taxes very well either. That's not my strength.
And it's amazing to listen to, if your tax person's not on top of things. Do you have any children under 18?
Well, they're my stepdaughters. So like I raised 3 children under 18, but did I make them? Then I didn't make them. So I don't claim them, if that's what you're asking.
From my real estate group, if you've got people under 18, you can pay them up to $15,000 a year. They have to do something for the work. But the example I use of the guy with the birth strategy down in Texas, his son's 12, his daughter's 9, and whenever they get a new house, one has to clean the bathrooms, the other has to clean the kitchen. They switch them off, and that he was paying them $15,000 a year, because they don't have to pay taxes on that. But it wasn't covering their private school. It wasn't covering this. The daughter takes ballet lessons. The son takes archery lessons. With this trust, it's covering all the kids' expenses, if that makes sense.
Interesting. So it's another way that I can make it so, like, technically I'm paying the kids, even if I'm not paying the kids.
Correct. And then if you have a child, a grown-up child who's going to a school, one of my clients, his 32-year-old son is in medical school at Boston College. The trust is paying for his lab works, for his living conditions, things like that. So this is where
I have curiosity, because you keep saying the trust is paying for. Is there money that comes in the trust that's not what I put in?
Correct. People get nervous because it's a Spence Rift Trust, but you have access to the money. You have to know how to access the money. And that's what the team is here to answer those questions for you.
Okay. Yeah. That's where I don't understand. I'm like, okay, let's say I'm in the trust now. How much money is there to access? Is it almost like a loan, or you can access as much as you can, as long as you do it correctly?
Exactly. As much as you can.
So this is kind of like you just got a bank account that doesn't have a limit. You just have to use the rules correctly to use it.
Exactly. One of my clients was taking the entire family on a cruise, and so I said, have a family meeting, have them all sit down to know about the trust. And then, like with your escort, they can write off the cruise. She's like, I don't know if I want to do that. And I'm like, well, if you don't do that, you're going to spend the $9,000 against your house or against something else. And she goes, oh, we're going to have a meeting. What afternoon? We're going to reserve a room. We're going to have 15 cabins. They're going to all sit down and just talk about the trust and make sure everybody in the family knew about it. Then the trust, we pay for it because it's business, if that makes sense. They only have the beneficial trust.
Again, I'm going to speak Socratically on this one. So, like, I don't know anything about this. So I pay $20K. I'm in the trust. I've switched my business over to make it so it all works correctly. Now, the amount of money in the trust is billions. There's a lot of money that's just, I'm plugged in now to this huge amount of money, but you can't just make $1 million withdrawal. You have to use the money in the correct way, which this turns into, like, I work with Sally to make sure, am I legally doing this correct to use the trust to pay for the things in the correct manner? That's essentially what this is, right?
Exactly.
So I just have to be able to plug into this and do it the correct way. So that way I can now set up generations with wealth that's already been sitting there.
Yes.
Shut up. Look, Sally, get out of here. Okay. So,
and then the one question I get a lot for, parents or grandparents are starting this and they're like, the grandson marries Susie Q. Well, 6 years later, Susie Q is divorced. You're going to be in charge. Who is a beneficiary? And when they stop being a beneficiary. One of my clients. So
the beneficiary part, this is where like it gets fuzzy. Where, like, there's a lot of money that's plugged in here, but where did this money come from, and whose money is this, and how much do we set as a beneficiary to what? And do I have to contribute how much for it to continue? Like, there's where my questions start coming in. Like, it sounds really great, but is my contribution the $20K and then that makes me bought in, or do I have to keep depositing to make sure that it's some sort of a replenished system? I'm curious.
It's just a one-time fee. In my family, I have 9 nieces and nephews. I purposely buy them silver coins every Christmas and birthday so they have something in the trust. Mm-hmm. Not saying I'm doing great, but I've done very well with real estate. If I get hit by lightning tonight, and I have a trust accessory, my oldest nephew is going to take over the trust from me. That money is going to move down to my 2 brothers get so much money, and then my nieces and nephews get everything else. The rest of my family, they're not in the trust. All my nieces and nephews are W-2 income earners, but they won't have to pay taxes on, I'm not wishing to die early, But, if I do die,
No.
they won't pay taxes on what I'm leaving them. And, if I'm not like this, I love all my nieces and nephews equally. But if I liked one niece better than the rest, I could leave her 80%, and then the rest of them would only get 10%. I could do that. No one's telling me I have to dish it out equally, if that makes sense.
Well, this is what I'm wondering. Percent of what? Like if trust is paying for things and it's tapped into a high amount of money that I didn't deposit all of the money that's in there. That money is in there already. I'm plugged into an overall trust.
Correct.
Like, well, how much am I allowed to leave to somebody if I were to pass away? Is it only an amount that I put in? So I can say $1 billion to somebody and they're like, yeah.
Exactly.
Sally, there's things I do not know.
And then leave a penny to somebody else. I mean, that's completely, whoever is a trustee can make those decisions.
Why wouldn't people then just be creating massive amounts of inheritance? Is that what they do? And that's where it comes from, is like, I'm plugged into the trust and I've been building my business for years, using the trust as the financial backer for my company. And we've built a beautiful and successful business. Now, where do my deposits go that are my successful business? Let's say my business makes $4 million. Well, am I depositing my money back into the trust as part of the, community trust?
You can have several different bank accounts. That's no problem. Mm-hmm. But it's all going to be with the same EIN, employee identification number of the trust. Right. So then I could have a Chase account and a credit union account and all this stuff. That's all personal stuff, but I can still be polling for the business from the trust. Exactly.
Sally, this sounds a little too good to be true. My CPA says this is bullshit. It sounds wonderful.
Again, I can send you the copy of,
I'm just kidding. I'm just joking off of the CPAs. Okay. I'm goofing with you. So this sounds awesome. So like literally do whatever you can. And even still I feel like the 20K thing is like the obstacle that people mostly have to overcome. Like not everybody just has 20,000 just sitting around to put somewhere. But if you're able to, put it up in one way, shape or form, it seems like you're plugged into an access to be able to create huge amounts of wealth, because now you can plug into anything that you can need as not only a tax write-off, but not even being taxed at all.
Correct. My example, that's a great question. My example, when I started the trust, I paid money that was more, the house I sold, the 4-bedroom, 1-bath house in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, I only saved $10,550. I was half of the trust. I also, in 2021, sold a note. It was somebody who stopped paying during COVID. I made another $9,000 on that one. So I almost paid for the trust in 2021, but I was still, how do I say this? I was still on the red side, but I did 6 wholesale deals in 2022 that I paid for the trust 4 times over easily with capital gains. My 12 notes that they're paying between 9% to 12%. I'm saving that money. I have a crypto bot that has Ethereum versus Bitcoin, so it keeps changing. I'm making about $49 a day on that. I'm saving capital gains on that. A friend of mine does my options trading for me. All of this starts adding up. Again, the example I used for the real estate agent, she knows she's negative, but she knows she's going to be doing more and more business. Within 2 years, she'll have the trust paid for. And she's just like, I don't mean to say this rudely. She went through a really nasty divorce. Her husband took a lot of money from her. And she's just like, no one's going to get my money again. If I fall in love again, this trust is going to defend me from if I have to go through another divorce. That's the reason she's starting now.
Listen, that's in my field where I'm working with the psychology on people. And I don't mean to giggle because I laugh now when you hear a woman go, oh, you got my money from this? No, that's never happening again. But the reverse side is of course guys should be giving me their money. What? And the guys are like, no, I'm never doing that again. Like, you guys are selfish. But then it happens to a woman. It happened to my girl too. Like, her divorce, she lost like 25 grand in the divorce. She's like, not doing that game. And I'm like, it's different when you ladies are on the receiving end. You guys are all like, give me that money. And now it's the other side. They're like, never doing that bullshit again.
Exactly. One of the things the trust, it doesn't matter if you got business trust or a beneficial trust, the trust is going to save you federal taxes, keep your information private. Your S Corp doesn't do that. And the third thing, keep you from paying any judgments if you get sued. This is a bad story, but I want to explain this to you. If you remember, O.J. Simpson was acquitted for killing his wife and Ron Goldman.
The glove didn't fit.
The Goldman sued him. Correct. They sued him for $135 million. They sued O.J., the person. He has this trust. All his real estate, his football memorabilia, everything else is in the trust. He golfs 3 times a week, does whatever he wants, but he does not have to pay that $135 million settlement to the Goldmans because he's worth nothing, if that makes sense.
Interesting. What a clever play.
Correct. I don't like using that, but it gives somebody an idea. One of my clients, true story, he needs a bus license to drive his RV. I've never seen it, but knowing Patrick, it's beautiful. Last summer, he couldn't slow down fast enough for the traffic. He hit the car in front of him that hit the car in front of her. No one's injured, thank God. 6 weeks after the accident, she sues him because the insurance paperwork showed the trust. His driver's license showed his name on it. She sues him for $490,000 for pain and suffering.
Oh my gosh.
Patrick himself.
A lot.
Not the trust, but, and it went away. And Patrick's like, you just saved me $490,000. He's got.
Well, first off, that's insanity to say almost $500,000 for a fender bender. Like,
she was seeing how expensive his RV was. It's probably $250,000, and she doubled it or something. I don't know where she got the number from.
Again, you just had one person going, "Hey, they took some money from me in a divorce. This is BS." And another lady who's like, "I can't wait to price gouge somebody as much as possible." Listen, there just seems like there should be some safeguards against immorality.
Exactly. Well, I'm not saying to do this, but one of my clients, she and I are in the real estate group in Phoenix. Her husband has nothing to do with this. They have 2 sons who are, I just forgot what they are. Shoot. They're special needs children. So
it's okay. People won't know anyway. It's okay. Yeah.
So she purposely put everything that she has 14 Airbnbs and a bunch of other real estate into the trust. She left her husband's car out of the trust and the house they own together out of the trust. And he's just like, well, I want money from all of your real estate. And she's like, nope, it's in the trust. You can't get it. You pay for our 2 sons, 50-50. And he tried suing her. And she's just like, I set it up before I gave you the divorce papers because that's what she was afraid of. And, good for her, if that makes sense.
Good for everybody. Listen, I have a hard time with people who are using divorce or actually, let me say it correctly. Using love as a weapon. I have a hard time with that. It's probably one of the most cruel things that we do, and probably one of the biggest parts that I have an issue with the way that divorce is handled right now, especially with children involved, like when they use love as weapons. Like, and this is where I think that, like, everything, when it gets into, like, even certain things with alimony and the way people use things to go, like, I know people who literally have just married people and divorced them just so they can get like their next 5-10 years paid for so they can go and do whatever they want off of somebody else's tab. They're like, well, being married with somebody who has that kind of money, the benefits of being with that person should go away when you're not with that person. That's like saying if I married my wife for sex and then like, I'm like, yeah, well, I don't want to be with you anymore, but you should still give me sex because that's what I wanted from you in our relationship. So you still owe me 5 years of sex. And you're like, well, I don't want to give you sex. We're not together. That's a perk you get from being together. Exactly. I don't see why finances is any different. You're not with them anymore. Why should you get benefits for being with somebody when you don't want to be with them?
The same thing. And I can't tell you how many real estate groups, real estate partners dissolve over something silly, completely silly. And it can get really, really ugly. But when you have the trust, the trust will be part of the partnership. And then when things dissolve, it's the trust that gets paid out on it. So it's people need to know this so they have options. That's why I like to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good message, and it gives people like a really valuable piece to put in their arsenal, because like we do have to find balance in our life: health, wealth, love, happiness. Like these things are all major pillars for people, and the
Exactly.
wealth part is a real struggle for many. And so to be able to get some tools in your tool belt for your arsenal, so like I know how to at least go into some of these battles and have at least a fighting damn chance, because there's a lot stacked against people. You know, especially look at like, this is why I don't like when love and money are put together like this. I have had guys in my group who, like, they were getting divorced and they were the sole breadwinner, and she was out doing recklessly immoral things just because she knew that this guy had been working his ass off his whole life to have a healthy retirement fund. And she's like, I'm divorcing you so I can get that retirement fund. That means it sets him back by at least half of his retirement. That's a lot. That's like a decade
it's a lot of
and
money.
a half.
And, I mean, anger is not good for you. Think how angry that man is. His high blood pressure, his cholesterol.
He's one of my guys, Sally, so we already helped him work through that stuff. He's one of my warriors, and so he's doing 10 times better now. But like, it's one of those things where just the setup itself for her to look at him as a payday instead of a human, we got the system created incorrectly. To destroy somebody's retirement is a pretty dark move.
Another true story. I've been to this house in Sierra Vista. It's down near Tucson. It's a glass A-frame into the mountain. Last Memorial Day weekend, my friend who owns it, Brandon, gets a text saying, I fell and I broke my wrist. My daughter's renting this Airbnb. Mm-hmm. Brandon calls me. He's up in Grand Rapids. This is where he's from. He's doing a hoarder house, cleaning it out. He's like, what do I do? Nice. I'm like, where's your trust booklet? He's like, in the back of my Jeep. I'm like, great. When you get it on Tuesday, just send the first page. Well, Brandon got curious. This woman with a broken wrist, she had sued in 2022. By June, she had sued 8 other Airbnb hosts all over the Western, San Francisco, San Diego, LA. And each Airbnb host gave her $100,000. I don't know how she sleeps at night, but Brandon's just like, thank you. I would have just paid because I don't know how she fell and broke her wrist at my house. But the house is worth easily $700,000. I mean, it's a beautiful A-frame house, if that makes sense. And she just saw dollar signs.
Yeah, there's this. I'm very grateful for you giving people at least some sort of shield against like this immoral stuff. Like, and it's even more sad that like this is where it's come to, where people are doing things to like just try to get anything they can at any cost from anybody. There's no looking out for each other. There's no camaraderie, and it's on both sides. It's not saying like, well, the people who have money, what are we doing to help people who don't? And this is a top down thing, but if there's a way to tap into this stuff to make it so like you can actually safeguard yourself against some of these attacks. Like, I think this is a great shield and a great setup for people to make it so financially they can feel safe and secure without being targeted because they just didn't know what they didn't know.
Well, they say 1 in 3 people will be sued in their lifetime. This is a statistic. I have to go to Las Vegas, look at it. If you do the 1.5 miles on the strip of Las Vegas, you will see over 82 billboards talking about suing somebody. I mean, everyone, my cousin from Ireland, I took him to Las Vegas, him and his wife, and Mary's just like, why do y'all sue everybody here? And I'm like, that's the American way.
It's become the American way. And I think that's an interesting thing to even state, because I just to look into the human behavior of it is like, that wasn't the American way. Something changed from the dream. Something changed from like, no, we do what is right. It doesn't matter who is right. What's the right thing should matter. Do the golden rule. That used to be pretty important. Do you want to get sued for some bullshit for an insane amount of money? Oh my God, no, I don't want that. Then don't do that to people.
Exactly.
Like, how would you like to be treated in this one? I think that this is a pretty cool thing to have, to make it so like, you can't just take advantage of me because you take advantage of people.
And unfortunately, people, with this trust, people have not heard of it. One of the things that I work with is people who are over 65, because if you make too much money, maybe you're selling stocks, maybe you're selling something, baseball cards. If you make too much money, the IRS in October is going to look back to tax returns from 2021 this year, 1040 tax returns. Mm-hmm. If you make more than $91,000, your Part B for your doctors and your tests, you'll pay more than the average American, or start paying the federal government. So we do have a special trust for people over 65 because people don't know this. Their financial advisors are clueless, about, it's called IRMA, which is, let me give you the right words. It's income related monthly adjustment amount. And people are unaware of that.
No, I've never heard of it. I've never heard of most of this. Again, exactly. I'm not in the know. And so I'm very interested and very curious. And so this you have my interest piqued. And this is a really powerful weapon and safeguard for people to be able to change their system, to be able to use the system in their benefit. Like, even if you were fortunate, let's just be real here. You see, it's the American way. 33% of people will get sued, all of these things. Even if your message is able to get out to millions, you'd be lucky if even 100,000 grab on. What's your experience so far? There's a lot of CPAs going bullshit. Like, exactly. What are you seeing happens? Too good to be true. Well, bananas, Sally. This is not a real thing. Like, what does it look like?
In my slide deck, I purposely have a picture of the book saying this is what trust attorneys in law schools study. If you didn't study trusts, you need to read this book. I have a free copy of What the Billionaires Do, the book that used to be called What the Rockefellers Do, to give to people because it's amazing. I mean, this past Monday on my Monday night Q&A, the gentleman's 82 years old, and he knows he's going to pay so much in capital gains. And he's like, I saw you on YouTube. My son told me to get on this call with you. I mean, It's nice that the family's looking out for family.
Oh, always when they do that. It's rough when people are looking out for themselves to take advantage of family. This is a cool thing. I really enjoy what you're doing right now because this is a good weapon against like people who want to hurt people for their own personal. This is like what's the term that people use, that crabs in the bucket? Like people want to try and pull people down whenever they're doing well.
The crabs, you know what I'm correct. Talking about? I'm from Maryland, so Maryland's for crabs. You put one crab in the pot, he climbs to get out. You put 3 crabs into the pot, the one who's trying to climb out, the other 2 just drag him down. I mean, it's how we talk to ourselves. I'm going to be honest, Rick, how we talk to ourselves, you would never talk to your best friend the way you talk to yourself in your mind.
You're in my world. What do you think I fight every single day with, guys? This self-talk is it's part of our discussion daily.
If I can give you one hint, my mom came from very rural Ireland. My grandfather died December 1939 when World War II was starting up. She didn't know electricity. She left Ireland at 16 to go to London. It's the first time she saw electricity. I don't know where she got this from, but in the morning when she was teaching us, potty training us, you get up in the morning, you do your business, and you stand in front of the mirror and wash your hands. She always says, just say, I love you, Sally, in the mirror and smile. My younger brother and I do it all the time. It's the best, gets your mind in a good vibration, if that makes sense. My older brother's like, I don't remember her teaching me this. I'm like, Neil, she taught it to us. And, I still do it every single morning. And, it sounds funny, but I say it out loud and I smile and give myself a high five. It
matters. It is absolutely a good one. I just did a recording yesterday with Chris Romulo, and he's a motivational speaker for children, middle school children. And he does the same type of an exercise where it's like, what do you think happens if every single day you call yourself stupid? Like, I call myself stupid every day. What kind of behavior do you do? What kind of things do you do? How do you create a self-fulfilling prophecy of like, well, then if I call myself stupid, I'll act stupid. I'll just, won't even try. But what happens if every day you say like, I'm smart? Well, then you'll be interested in learning and you'll be curious about things. You'll try to apply new information. You'll try new things to learn more because I'm smart and I want to learn more. Like, if what you say to yourself is important, but there's not a lot of conversation around that. And even anything that is put in those conversations is made too complicated. Hustle culture and things like this, instead of being able to go look in the mirror and say, hey, I love you, and high five yourself. And you're going to be like, yeah, you're
something
worth
simple
love.
to do. Exactly.
Yeah, that's good advice, Sally. Yeah, that's a good one to apply. And I think the simplicity is genius when it comes to even that stuff. I do want to get back to the trust because I'm getting more trust with you. And so I want to get into this stuff. So I really do want to see, like, what does it take to do this? And I'm a lot more curious. My skepticism still comes around my ignorance around how much this works for, like, okay, like, I'm not as concerned. We can get the 20K. That's not a concern. The concern for me is, all right, now I want to apply my employees and the payouts and stuff like this. I'm paying out my kids. I'm paying out my stuff. I'm doing all the things. Now can I apply, like, hey, I have to do marketing and stuff like this? I can apply, $50K from the trust to my marketing. I could just start pulling, like, this is where it comes from. And then there's an endless amount that I can keep using from this to build the business, but then I don't have to keep putting money into the trust.
Correct. The only thing you have to be aware of is that you can't take from the trust. Like my car, I can't take more than $27,500. I just did a fantastic real estate deal. A friend of mine helped me with it, where I made over almost $1 million on the real estate deal. So the original price for the houses we paid for is now in the trust. So the core of the trust, you can't take away from that. So you do have to keep.
So what's the limit on the core of the trust then? What's the limit? Correct. How much you put in?
If there's not enough money coming in, maybe the trust wouldn't. You have to put things on hold until you have more money coming in. Most of the people I talk to have so much money, are doing things to make it still come through.
So then you do have to put deposit into the trust.
Correct. So I didn't start my trust. I had the trust. I didn't fund my trust until I got paid for that 4-bedroom, 1-bath house in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. That money. That's what I'm curious.
That's where I was like, where's the money for the trust come from? It goes off of how much you put in, but then you don't have to be taxed on it after you use it.
Exactly. So from there, then I put my 12 notes into the trust, and then from the money I saved and from the $44,000. I started wholesaling the houses and then put the money back in. My trust pays for my health insurance. My trust pays for my life insurance. Everything like that.
Interesting. All right, so that's why I was curious. All right, so let's say I put $50,000 worth of stuff into my trust. Then I can use that $50,000. Now, what happens when that $50,000 is used up for whatever reason?
Correct. Then the corpus of the trust, it's still there. But if you don't have money coming in to replace it, the corpus of the trust won't be pierced, if that makes sense.
No, it doesn't. What does that mean?
So my car, I can't take more than $27,500 off the car. If I try to take $29,000 off, I've affected the corpus of the trust. So I'm conscious of what I deal with, if that makes sense.
So does that mean like you would get kicked out or you would lose access to the trust? Like what happens if that happens? What's
Correct.
The overdraft?
If all of a sudden I don't have enough money coming in, it's going to be put on hold. I do real estate. My crypto bot's paying me every day. So I do have money coming through. My business trust, which is, I run 3 businesses online. That one will pay for my food, fun, and fashion, but it's not making as much money as my real estate one. I have to put more time and effort into my business trust, if that makes sense.
So you still have to run some form of a successful deposit. You still have to have money going into it. That's why I was wondering. I'm like, is this like now that I'm in, there's an endless amount of resources? It's like, well, no, it still works like a bank account. You're just not getting taxed the same way on it.
Correct. So like if something happens to me, my 9 nieces and nephews aren't real estate investors. Sooner or later, the trust is going to run out of money, if that makes sense.
That's why I was curious. And so the money that I would be able to leave to them, that's why I was saying is like, I can leave just $1 million and I don't have $1 million. It's like, no, you still have to have $1 million in there to leave $1 million.
Correct.
That's what so it is like a bank account, just with a lot more benefits.
Exactly. It's a bank account saving you federal taxes. Everybody wants to save federal taxes.
Okay. This makes a little more sense to me because I was thinking like there's a endless amount of money in there and you pay $20K, you're plugged into this resource now where I can just pull from. Like, no, you can only pull from what's in there. The initial $20K, does that count as your trust then?
Unfortunately, for the price of the trust, that's external. It's not part of the inside the trust.
So that doesn't count towards your baseline then.
Correct.
So you'd have to have $20K and then you have to put all your assets and all your things in there that you want to create what would be your collateral. Now,
Correct.
if you do overdraft your account, do they come after your stuff?
You could, yes, unfortunately.
Okay, so that's a good thing to know. Like, hey, this isn't a bottomless pit. If I have $27K on your car and then you do $29K, they're like, I'm going to come get that car.
Because the car is not worth that much. I still have the physical car, but now I'm negative, if that makes sense. Correct.
No, I just want to make sure, like, you're about to lose your car because your trust went over.
Well, my trust is going to buy a new car in 2024, so I'm looking forward to that.
Well, sure, you're throwing money in. I just want to make sure the loopholes of people who like don't go in thinking like, now I'm just rich. Because if you go in with the mentality of you just won the lottery, people with bad spending habits will continue to do bad spending habits. And so I just want to make sure they don't go in with a very incorrect mindset of like, I put 20K in and now I can pull $1 million out. Like, no, you can't.
No,
it doesn't work that way. Okay. So this is like a bank account that you have to pay for like the privilege to using this bank account, but over time without having to pay capital tax, you will make your money back, especially if you have a certain level of success. You said making over 70K a year or more, then you'll be able to recoup that money pretty quickly, right?
Perfect example. Like somebody who I just helped here in North Carolina, unfortunately he's widowed, he broke his hip. He bought his house for $32,000 and sold it for over $700,000. He's gone into the trust, and all that money in there is paying for him to be in a assisted nursing home. I don't know how long I'm going to be honest, I don't know how long he'll live for, but if he uses up that, all that extra money, then they might have to come up with something. But his children are like, let's do it. It's a way to make sure dad gets his best care possible.
Yeah, no argument. I just want to make sure I have a full understanding because it seems like a good idea, but no different than having a bank account. You don't want to spend more than what you put in there. It just makes sense. I'm just curious. So then it turns into the collateral aspect. All right, I'm in and I want to put in like OJ put his trophies and all of his stuff in there. And I'm sure what you could do is like you can say how much is it worth? Is what based on fame or is it subjective? Like, well, I could sell this for $1 million because it's
correct.
Got somebody's
They're going to go with
signature.
the actual cost, whatever it was. So going back to my gentleman with the 85 birth strategy houses, it was the original cost and the address. And then the second page of the Excel spreadsheet is what it's worth for him. He's making a profit on all of them, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Let's just say my recording studio, or let's just say my gym that I have, like whatever it is. These are all part of, without this, I couldn't run the business that I run. Like, do I get to put that up as collateral? And now like whatever thousands and thousands of dollars I've done to create the business that I have now, I can put that as collateral.
Correct.
Like everything is now a part of the trust. And so I'll take, $200K worth of stuff and say this is now a part of my collateral for the trust. And now I have access to $200K for my business.
Yes and no, because it's going to be what the actual cost was. So let's say your weight equipment, it's depreciated over the last 5 years or something like that. So it'd be, but correct. You're on the right path.
Well, I'm just curious. I'm just throwing a number out. It's just like, like all the equipment, all the office, all the stuff that I have, like to say this is all ours. This is our stuff. Like, I just want to make sure like, okay, you're paying 20K in, and then with collateral of your business that you switched all over your business, let's say it's worth 100K, just pick a number. Okay. So all of your things combined and all of the influences and all the things that you have is valued at 100K. You're like, okay, cool. So now I would be able to leverage 100K from the trust for marketing to create more money to add more to the trust. Is that right?
Yes.
Clever. Okay. That's good to know. So that way, like, you're like, okay, how would I use this in the correct way? I want to make sure like it's no misinterpretation that like, this is going to be used, recklessly, because I don't want people to be in harm's way because I just didn't ask the right questions.
Exactly. And, again, when you have a question like that, or there's a situation coming up, you can always reach out to me. You can always reach out to the law firm. That's what that team is here to help you with. Now,
right there, people are like, okay, Sally. I want to do it. How do I reach out to you? I got questions. How do they reach out to you? What do they do?
My website is thetrustisyou.com, When you go out there, you can download an 18-minute video that's sent to your email. You can set an appointment with me. I do a live every Monday night, 8 p.m. East Coast time, Q&A. I go over the slides and open up for questions. Sometimes I have 9 people on. This past week, I only had 2 people there. Summertime's been slow. But both people, one gentleman is about to sell an apartment building. And he's just like, I'm going to make a heck of a lot of money on this. So, correct.
This is interesting.
2 weeks on TikTok. TikTok's where I get most of my clients. 2 weeks on TikTok. Somebody came to Monday night and used his TikTok handle, MK, and a bunch of numbers afterwards. He says to me, put the contract into the Zoom. Did that. Thursday, that was Monday night. Thursday morning, I get a call from the law firm going, is Michael so-and-so your client? I'm like, I don't know his first name. He came on TikTok. He sold 2 warehouses on Long Beach Port and saved $6 million in capital gains.
Amazing.
2 weeks on TikTok, it paid for TikTok, if that makes sense.
For real. Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome, Sally. This is a big deal. And you said 8 p.m. live. Is it what time zone again? Just want to make sure.
Correct. I'm on the East Coast, so I do everything East Coast time. Where are you located? I'm
Central Time. I'm near Chicago.
Okay. So unfortunately, you're paying that 4.95% on all your profits.
You know I am. You know I'm all about that percentage. Yeah. Thank you, Illinois. So you have my interest piqued. I'll join in some of your live Q&As also. And I would like I think people should also be checking in okay, is this too good to be true? How can I do this? How do I overcome this thing? What does it look like if I do this? There are a lot of people who do have the ability to do this, but don't know that it exists. Exactly. And so for you to be able to, and this is middle class even still, this isn't even just the rich. We can all pull 20K at some point.
My pizza man, the 2 locations of pizza. I mean, he works 7 days a week. I mean, it sounds like he's making a lot of money, but he's putting a lot of time into it. And for him to open up a 3rd location or a 4th location, it's amazing. That my real estate agent, she's looking at everything she's doing right now that she's like, I'm going to be making more money than I did in 2022. So she's happy about that.
Yeah. No, very interesting. But also, a lot of times with businesses, doing a write-off just means I'm not paying taxes on the stuff that I had to do, but you're not able to use that money. This sounds like you can use it twice. Does that sound right?
Everything you take your deductibles for now, you'll still be able to do within the trust. And then save the taxes on top of that.
If I bought a $2,000 piece of equipment that's worked for the business. I'm just picking a number. It could be 10,000, whatever. I buy a $2,000 piece of equipment, and then I put that equipment as part of the trust for the business. Well, then I can also leverage that $2,000 I just spent for marketing on the business with the equipment that I just bought. So in essence, that $2,000 has now become potentially $4,000.
Well, just to give you an idea, I have both the beneficial trust and the business trust. My brother, who has a brewery, don't ask me all the things about the brewery. The beneficial trust owns it. They lease it back to the business trust. He's saving so much money doing that. And exactly, the marketing's on top of that. He's saving so much in taxes doing that.
Interesting. So
they have a canning line. They just bought a canning line for the business, put it into the beneficial trust. They have their own bank accounts. I've got nothing to do with those bank accounts. But they're leasing that canning line back to the brewery to can the different beers. So
they're using the investment they made to create the income for the investment to make more from the investment.
Exactly.
Am I saying that right? It seems correct, but I'm okay, this is tricky. It seems like you get to, it's double dipping legally. Is that right?
Correct. How the tax laws are written, I guess is double dipping, but they're not calling it that. But exactly.
No. We don't want to call it that. No.
Correct.
This is tactical, strategic, income resourcefulness. We'll call it something clever. We're not going to call it double dipping, but it sounds like double dipping, and it sounds nice.
I mean, I know how much he saved in 2022. I don't know how much he's saving for 2023. He's just like that. For him, it was a substantial amount of money. He was very happy about it.
Very cool. I like it. What else do we need to know, Sally? What else do we need to know? Is just like, that's my message. Like,
it might not be for you today. Maybe you're not making enough money, but at least you have the knowledge. Maybe 8 months from now, maybe 2 years from now, the majority of my people only have either the business trust or the beneficial trust. My gentleman from New York, who's the guy doing the weight loss affiliate marketer, I just got him involved in a real estate deal in Anson County. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath brick house. The gentleman had passed away. Taxes were due on 16 acres. He came down here, went to the county court, to the meeting, and he can split the 16 acres in half. And he's going to put a duplex, I guess it's a duplex for handicapped people, and build that up. And he's just like, no, I need the beneficial trust. So I'm like, as soon as you start making money, we'll get you the beneficial trust. But, do what you need to do. Start it when you need to start it. But at least you're getting the right information. That's what I want people to know.
Yeah. What I like about this, too, is it gives people like it's like a dream building setup, too. Like, wait a second, I can do this to get to that. It sets like setting a 20K goal for somebody to be able to pay into something. It's like, okay, I can do that. Like, it's like, what do I have to do? I can do that. It may take me 8 months. It might take me a year. Okay, but I can work my ass off and I can do it. Like, it does create an opportunity to build something that builds something. And so I think this is very good information. And like, even if it's not for you this moment, to be able to go, now you can set a goal to make it so you can start
exactly
like not having to pay, 40% of your checkout.
And, one of my, I don't know if I use the example, I don't have it here. One of my guys who sells commercial lighting in Chicago, he even said to me, I don't work that hard. I only work 3 days a week. But now that I'm saving so much in taxes, he's now going to start working 5 days a week because he's got another 7 years to go till he retires. And he's just like, this is beautiful. I'm going to save so much.
Talk about taxes being a deterrent. I know people that don't start their business because of taxes.
Exactly. People don't really look at what they're paying until they start looking at things.
Well, most of the businesses, like I got people who have dreams and they start looking at the feasibility of their dreams. And they're like, for every dollar I make, I lose, 40 cents of it. So then I have 60 cents and then I have to do this much for payroll, this much for this. At the end of it, after everything is paid out for like supplies and all the stuff, I end up only making like 3%. And that's not very much off of this. And so, like, I don't think I'm going to start the business. I'll be in debt for 20 years.
Well, think of it this way. You're getting taxed for gas. You're getting taxed for food. You're getting taxed for... That's
after the business tax, for sure.
Exactly.
So, like, let's go ahead and say I'm taxed for this. That means at least 60% of my stuff now is taxed. Just every dollar that I make, over 60% is gone.
You're not... Because people are like, oh, I'm going to be tax-free. I'm like, no. You're not going to be tax-free. You're still going to pay... I still pay food tax. I went to the movies this weekend. I had to pay taxes on the movies. I had to pay taxes on my cell phone when I paid for my cell phone this week.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think it just makes it so your business isn't double taxed. It doesn't mean like you're exempt from the existence of taxes for sure. But it's good to not be double taxed if you can.
It's helping you save taxes. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great message. And like I said, there's no one person that's the cure all, but all of these tools combined can make it so you can build something very useful.
But
that's awesome. Thank you, Sally.
It is just information. Here's a statistic for you, Rick. Do you know who owns the biggest public Little Brown books? It's in all the public schools.
Mm-mm.
Bank of America. There's a reason why we're not learning how to balance our checkbook, what amortization loan is, things like this. I hate to say it, things are stacked against us.
Oh, it seems like it for sure. So thank you for being like the tip of the spear to say like let's give people at least a chance to fight back.
I appreciate you having me on the show. I did you get my affiliate link for all your people too?
Oh, I have it. Yeah. So I have it in the email that you sent me, right? So I'll make sure everybody has everything for you. So we'll make sure we have your stuff. I want people to be able to have you as a fighting chance. And like, I'm going to be recommending even my warriors to be able to go on and check you out on Monday night. So I'll make sure we have your links and everything.
I
think this is
appreciate
great
it.
information.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is good. Is there any other way that I can serve you to help even more? Like, I just want to plug you into our people and get your word out there. Is there anything else I can help you with?
One of the things I just started, I just got my nonprofit status on Friday.
Congrats.
November of 2021, Bankrate.com said 80% of Americans, so somebody you know, Rick, it might be your best friend, it might be your mom, it might be somebody, 80% of Americans have $90,000 in debt and aren't saving 10% for retirement. Mm-hmm. When I started real estate investing, I was a Medicare broker. Worst job in the world. People turning 65 are broke. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yes.
So with the nonprofit I'm doing, my website is learnwithsallymarie.com. I'm teaching people about gift giving. This is tax-free money in the United States. If you Google Dolly Parton and the Christmas fires of 2016, she was giving people $15,000 who lost their homes in Tennessee, where she's from. Gift giving is a thing here, and my goal, that 80%, I want to bring it down at 1% per year for the next 10 years. When I turn 65, it's going to be at 70%. That's my goal. So if you tell people about that, I'd appreciate that.
Huge goal. That's awesome. Honor to you, Sally. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing.
You're welcome. I appreciate you having me on here. I really do.
Yes. Thank you so much. We'll have probably more conversations in the future. I plan on jumping in on some of these Monday nights you have. I do plan on seeing you a lot more. So thank you for this. Health, wealth, love, and happiness. People hear these terms all the time, but to be able to have another wealth weapon, thank you for the addition to the arsenal. Thank you so much.
I appreciate being here. I hope you have a fantastic week then, okay?
Thank you. You too.
Click on the button and you can become the hero in your own story. It's time to start making the choices to change. And the evolution that you're going to do begins with choosing the next step. This is the way. And together, we're always stronger.